The Monetary Authority will set up a task force to follow up on companies asking for help to deal with tightened credit from banks. A popular mainland information platform includes 39 Hong Kong restaurants on its must-eat list. And Antony Blinken says Israel accepts a Gaza ceasefire proposal and calls on Hamas to do the same. Hello and welcome to TVB News. Facing challenging operating conditions and a declining property market, some businesses are struggling under tightened credit from banks in Hong Kong. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority said they will set up a task force to follow up on the company's requests for help. Jackie Lin reports.
A tearful appeal earlier this month from Executive Council member and business sector lawmaker Jeffrey Lam to the Hong Kong Monetary Authority for more support to ailing small and medium-sized companies in Hong Kong. Lam explained his worries on TVB's Straight Talk program.
I was emotional because I felt for Hong Kong. You see, this is the time they need some oxygen. The government, somebody have to give it to them.
Right.
After they die, the oxygen is no longer good enough. No use.
Another woe, banks calling loans from the SMEs despite timely repayments. He warned tightened credit could lead to cash flow issues and even bankruptcies of firms.
In March, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority issued 9 guidelines to the banks. One is, if the borrower continue to make timely payments, they will not call loan. To ask them for early payment or to reduce their loan limit. But I've received a lot of complaints that some banks are doing that.
The Hong Kong Real Estate Agencies General Association received around 20 such complaints of bank calling loans. These cases will be referred to the HKMA within this week. Lawmaker Johnny Ng also received 2 requests for help, including a restaurateur who has been pressured by banks on all his outstanding mortgage loans after he delayed repayments once. In response to media inquiries, the HKMA's Deputy Chief Executive Arthur Yun stressed it's pivotal the city's banking system remains robust, and the HKMA has asked banks to prudently manage risks while supporting SMEs. He said SMEs could reach out to the HKMA via their email or hotline if they need help on issues including the credit guidelines. But he also noted if firms continue to delay loan repayments, it's reasonable that banks work to ensure the banking system's stability. Beleaguered too are established companies. They include a wholly owned subsidiary of 3-decade-old mainland real estate company R&F Properties, which received a winding-up petition at the Hong Kong court over the non-repayment of part of a $610 million loan. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
The head of the United Front Work Department of the Chinese Communist Party, Shi Taifeng, spoke at a conference in Hong Kong today. He said Beijing is in the driving seat when it comes to resolving the Taiwan issue. The Overseas Chinese World Conference for Promoting Peaceful Reunification of China was held at the Hong Kong Convention and Exhibition Center with around 1,200 participants. This marks the first time in 9 years that the director of the United Front Work Department has come to Hong Kong. Also in attendance were Chief Executive John Lee, senior Beijing officials, and other representatives. In Xi's speech, he said Hong Kong's One Country, Two Systems framework helped provide important references for China's unification efforts. He also criticized Taiwan's Democratic Progressive Party for insisting on Taiwan independence, which has caused instability across the Taiwan Strait. A popular mainland information platform has included 39 Hong Kong restaurants on its must-eat list. Many in the restaurant sector have hailed the list, saying it's boosted their positive outlook for local business, despite the growing trend of Hong Kongers spending their money on the mainland. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Mainland consumption and restaurant platform Dianping has announced its must-eat list for 13 cities, including Hong Kong and Macau, with 39 recommended restaurants for Hong Kong. This makes Hong Kong the city with the most selected restaurants outside of the mainland. 28 restaurants were newly listed, with 20% of them being street food shops. This 22-year-old restaurant in Happy Valley was included in the must-eat list for its Cantonese and Shunde cuisines. Its manager said they keep their patrons through cooking skills and promotion. He added that mainland tourists make up at least half of all customers, and that they come to his restaurant because of the uniqueness of Hong Kong's delicacies. Despite the rising trend of Hong Kongers going north to spend money, some in the restaurant sector remain confident in the future of their line of work. This restaurant owner said he believes Hong Kong's distinct flavor is still enough to attract patrons. Some restaurants included on the list said the mega events rolled out by the government this year were beneficial to their businesses. They hope the authorities will increase their efforts on promoting the city in a bid to bring in more visitors to try Hong Kong's unique dishes. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Ocean Park says the 6-day-old panda twins remain fragile but in stable condition. The park is also studying where to extend or build new panda facilities, not just for the cubs, but also for the 2 new additions that Beijing is gifting the SAR. Jackie Lin spoke with Ocean Park's chairman to find out more.
Latest photos released by Ocean Park captured how conservation staff stimulated the bow of giant panda Ying Ying's newborn daughter. Other pictures showed how a panda nanny fed the younger son and how his sister slept on one side. In an interview with TVB News, Ocean Park chairman Paolo Pong said the cubs now take turns to be breastfed by Ying Ying. They also consume panda milk sourced from Chengdu in Sichuan several times a day, a few milligrams each time.
They were born at the weight of around 120 grams, 110 grams, so they are extremely fragile.
Pong revealed while he hasn't yet seen the panda cubs in person like most citizens, the Hong Kong-born cubs are both eating and excreting well under the care of Ying Ying and experts.
It's crucial that our staff also gets the credibility and also the experience to look after these cubs. After all, it's such a rare occasion for them also to learn about the upbringing of baby panda cubs.
The team taking care of Ying Ying over the years is also keeping a close watch on the health of the world's oldest first-time panda mom.
We don't want to disturb the young cubs because they are right there at the animal exhibits. So we have to be careful in these construction works.
Giant Panda Adventure will still be home to the panda family of 4 for now, but the park will consider phasing out some old facilities to house the panda babies when they grow up, as the bears typically lead a solitary life alongside some digital upgrades.
We also have to look at the education side of things, also look at how the exhibits can be entertaining, perhaps to digitalize them and perhaps to add some immersive experience, something new and something creative to Hong Kong.
The panda merchandise at Ocean Park now is not specifically designed with Ying Ying or Lula's characteristics or features. With that, Paolo Pong said they will study the possibility of incorporating the element of the Hong Kong panda family, as well as the soon-to-arrive pandas from Sichuan. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Israel says it has recovered the bodies of 6 hostages taken by Hamas last October in the attack that started the war in Gaza. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and other mediators are holding talks in Cairo to broker a ceasefire and release other captives. Blinken said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has accepted a proposal to bridge gaps. He is calling on Hamas to do the same. David Garrett reports.
Avram Munda, one of 6 dead hostages found by the Israeli military in Gaza. His kibbutz said the 79-year-old died after physical and mental torture. The Israeli Defense Forces said Munda and other bodies were recovered in Khan Yunis. It was not clear exactly when or how he died. Hamas say some hostages have been killed in Israeli strikes. The deaths of the other 5 had already been announced. Tears by the graveside in Gaza. 3 killed by the Israelis, Palestinian officials say. More deaths and destruction as Israeli military strikes continue. On the diplomatic front, peace may be moving closer. Benjamin Netanyahu spoke of an aching heart for the dead hostages. The Israeli Prime Minister says he wants hostages that are still alive, thought to be around 110, released quickly in the first part of any deal after a good meeting with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Blinken has moved on to Egypt, who, along with Qatar and the US, are mediating between Israel and Hamas. While still in Jerusalem, he said hurdles are being overcome.
Try to bridge the gaps that remain between the parties so that we could get agreement to what the president put out there a couple of months ago. In a very constructive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu today, he confirmed to me that Israel accepts the bridging proposal, that he supports it. It's now incumbent on Hamas to do the same.
Overnight, several Israeli strikes targeted Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Iran-backed group and Israeli forces have been clashing since the outbreak of war in Gaza. Fears of escalation increased as Hezbollah vowed retaliation for a strike that killed a top commander in Beirut. Iran's government made threats towards Israel after Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated in Tehran.
Hezbollah and Iran not willing to hold fire forever. They said in discreet channels, but they have said it, it's been made public, that they will give a ceasefire a chance. But they're not going to give a ceasefire a chance forever.
The longer this goes on, the more, again, hostages will suffer and possibly perish, and the more other things happen that could make things impossible. So that's why we're so intensely focused on getting this done and getting it done now.
Blinken speaking before Israel announced the latest deaths of hostages. Lives on the line as diplomatic dialogue continues in Cairo. David Garrett, TVB News.
Still ahead, Joe Biden hails Kamala Harris as the Democratic National Convention opens in Chicago. U.S. House Republicans released their impeachment inquiry report on Joe Biden. And pictures of the first supermoon of the year. Welcome back. U.S. President Joe Biden delivered his valedictory address to the Democratic National Convention on Monday night, saying, quote, "I gave my best to you." He received a long ovation that reflected the mood over his decision to cede the stage to Vice President Kamala Harris in November's presidential election. This as thousands marched through Chicago streets near the convention center, protesting against the Biden administration's support for Israel in the Gaza war, with some protesting inside as well. Tracy Furness has more.
But not everyone in the audience at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago Monday were happy with Joe, as some attendees unfurled a banner reading, "Stop Arming Israel." Biden supporters soon covered the banner with their "We Love Joe" signs before the banner was wrestled away from the protesters and the lights in that section turned off. Biden did address Gaza in his valedictory address.
And we'll keep working to bring hostages home and end the war in Gaza and bring peace and security to the Middle East. As you know, I wrote a peace treaty for Gaza. A few days ago, I put forward a proposal that brought us closer to doing that than we've done since October 7th.
The 81-year-old president had received a hero's welcome for his act of stepping aside for Kamala Harris, weeks after many in his party were pressuring him to drop his bid for re-election. Earlier in the evening, Vice President Kamala Harris made a surprise appearance at the Democratic National Convention. In brief remarks, she thanked Biden for his historic leadership and lifetime of service.
Joe, thank you for your historic leadership, for your lifetime of service to our nation, and for all you will continue to do. We are forever grateful to you.
Former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton also backed Kamala Harris's vision for America.
As a prosecutor, Kamala locked up murderers and drug traffickers. She will never rest in defense of our freedom and safety. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions. As Vice President, Kamala sat in the Situation Room.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives have released an impeachment inquiry report on President Joe Biden. They accused Biden of abusing his powers in corrupt ways in the business dealings of his son and family associates. Danny Joe has the story.
The nearly 300-page report was issued on Monday, hours before Joe Biden appeared in the opening of the Democratic National Convention as a main speaker. 3 Republican-led House of Representatives committees alleged that President Biden participated in a conspiracy to monetize his office of public trust to enrich his family through foreign business deals. This marked the culmination of a year-long impeachment inquiry that was launched by former Speaker Kevin McCarthy and ratified by incumbent Speaker Mike Johnson in December 2023. The White House has long dismissed the probe as politically motivated. The report stated the president had conspired to commit influence peddling and abused his office, tracing back to the dealings beginning in 2014, when Biden served as vice president in the Obama administration. Investigators said Biden was directly involved in meetings and communications with foreign partners and enriched his family by at least $27 million. One of the key allegations claimed that his son, Hunter, used Biden's influence to secure favorable outcomes in business deals with entities in Romania, Ukraine, China, and other countries. In addition, Republicans pointed to a series of payments that they claimed the president benefited from his younger brother, James, including loans linked to a healthcare company. Hunter Biden and his longtime business associate, as well as James Biden, all insisted that President Biden was never involved in any of the business activities they pursued. Hunter Biden was found guilty on federal gun charges, and he's waiting for the trial on a tax evasion case, in which he allegedly accepted payments from a Romanian oligarch who sought to influence the U.S. government agencies. The impeachment inquiry report failed to provide concrete evidence that President Biden committed a crime, and Biden himself earlier declined a request to testify before the House. It was not clear if Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson would schedule a vote to impeach Biden. Even if the Republican-controlled House were to pass such a measure, it would be unlikely to remove Biden from office, given that he would need to be convicted by a Senate-controlled 51-49 by his own Democratic Party. Danny Joe, TVB News.
Trams on Johnston Road in Wan Chai were forced to stop for almost 30 minutes in front of Sautorn Playground this afternoon after a car got trapped in a tram-only lane under construction. With a stranded car blocking the way, dozens of trams heading towards Central were backed up behind the vehicle. The tram-only gate is where the tracks are still intact to allow only trams to pass, but the ground beneath has been excavated for repair work. Passengers were forced to disembark from their trams. At around 2 p.m., a tow truck freed the car from the ditch. Minutes later, the trams were able to resume their journeys. Starting this Sunday, residents aged 60 or above must use the JoyU card in order to take advantage of the $2 elderly concessionary fare. The application process for the card takes 4 weeks. Around 80,000 qualified individuals have yet to apply for the card. Residents aged 60 to 64 years old who have not applied for the card must pay the normal adult fare. Those aged 65 or above are eligible for a half-price discount via the Elderly Octopus card. The MTR will also deploy more staff across stations to offer assistance and distribute JoyU card application forms. The world witnessed its first supermoon this year on Monday night. Residents in China, Brazil, and Greece were able to capture the celestial phenomenon. Timothy Lee reports.
Hovering above the ancient temple of the Greek god Poseidon, residents of Greece were treated to the impressive sight of a larger-than-usual moon on Monday night. According to NASA, the supermoon phenomenon will last for 3 days, adding that it could be seen clearly by people around the world in open areas. In the city center of Mohe in Heilongjiang province, locals captured the moment of the giant moon gradually appearing over a nearby mountain. The supermoon was seen glowing with a red hue. Taking advantage of the local tourist season, stargazers from across the country made their way to the northernmost town of China for a memorable photo with the giant moon. This tourist said the moon looked like it came straight out of a painting, and that it was astonishing to see the beauty of the moon so close by. The supermoon effect occurs when the moon, while orbiting around the Earth in an ellipse, reaches its closest point to the planet. A supermoon is some 14% larger and 30% brighter to the naked eye. But the occasion is not especially rare, as it would happen at least 1 to 2 times a year. The lunar phenomenon is set to appear again on September 18th, October 17th, and November 16th this year, with the moon in September expected to appear the largest. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.